Good morning. We're gathered here at the Caraba Beach Hotel following the launching of the PPP Public-Private Partnership Policy launching in 2014. Since then, we've had a series of dialogue and engagement with the public sector and have discussed a number of policies and activities to ensure that this partnership succeeds. There are several benefits from this, particularly the increased resources and access to available capacities that both will bring to the partnership. Secondly is the issue of perhaps investment, which could be a challenge to the public sector. But thirdly is the issue of the competence and efficiency when it comes to returns on investment. So for a number of reasons, PPP works. Today we will also host a PPP and policy fair, which means we'll look at the various policy documents that enhance PPP activities in the Gambia. At the end of the day, everybody wins with a good PPP. This activity has been organized in partnership with the Directorate of the PPP at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs and supported by the Ministry of Trade Enhanced Integrated Framework.
Good morning to everyone. Welcome to this forum, Public-Private Partnership, Policy Dialogue and Fair on the theme PPP for Sustainable Development. We are very grateful to all of you to be here with us to have this conversation, which we hope will help to shape our interventions, both of us as government and private sector and partners, development partners, and get us to SOAR, which is achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. So ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, I welcome you all to this forum. The event actually is jointly organized between the Ministry of Finance and the Gambia Chamber of Commerce, with funding support from the Enhanced Integrated Framework of the Ministry of Trade. Well, we are blessed in this occasion to have the honorable presence of the Honorable Minister for Tourism, Mr. Benjamin Roberts. He has been a PPP champion in this country, and we are very glad to have him. So ladies and gentlemen, please give him a round of applause. And we're also blessed. I've seen a lot of very, very important people in this gathering, and we thank God for that. If we mention names, we will be making errors. Everybody is important. But we know we really have some heavyweights. I see a lot of heavyweights around this room, and I pray that Allah bless our deliberations and make it very fruitful so that we achieve the objectives that we desire. Without much ado, the high table, by the way, let me introduce the high table. On the far left, extreme left, is the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, Mr. Lamin Kamara. Everybody knows he's also another critical PPP champion in this country. They've implemented PPP projects, WASIP and ACE and the others. Very knowledgeable on PPP matters. And next to him is the representative of my Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs, who really wanted to be with us. In fact, he changed the date from 28 to 27, so he will be here. But then, unforeseen circumstances, he was asked subsequently to be at the AU Summit in Addis Ababa. That's where he is right now. And that's why he's not with us. But he's ably represented by the Accountant General, Mamadou Laminba, because the PS also is out of town, and the DPS is on holiday. So, Mr. Accountant General, please, you're welcome. And next to him, we all know Mr. Roberts, the Honorable Minister, is a dynamic Gambian, and like I said, an investment advocate and a PPP champion. So we are glad and blessed to have his presence in this occasion. Next to Mr. Roberts is Mr. Baiju, Enhanced Integrated Framework Project Coordinator. He is also a very seasoned public servant, also active in the private sector, although in a small scale. But we're here today thanks to the funding and support that they're giving us. They're the ones that fund this event. So thank you, Mr. Joe. And as an industry, Mr. Ali Useka, I think everybody knows him. He's a popular guy, and he's been a PPP advocate also in this country. And we are happy as a partner. We are happy really to partner with the Chamber and all stakeholders. I see the likes of Gumworks and other key institutions. GAIPO is here. Investors are also here, the likes of Uncle Baxter. So we're happy that you're all here, and we pray to Allah that we have very fruitful deliberations. Like I said, so that we will get to soar. It is, the target is in the next 15 years, the Gambia we want, achieving the sustainable development goals, and especially using public-private partnerships as a tool for infrastructure development. Ladies and gentlemen, I would not take much of your time. I will just call on to the CEO for Chamber of Commerce to make a few remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Director of the PPP unit under the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs. Now, this looks like the White House with all these mics in front of me. The Honorable Minister of Tourism, distinguished permanent secretaries, the IMF representative in the Gambia, various director generals, top executives and entrepreneurs in the Gambia. Good morning. Our session this morning follows the landmark policy launching in 2014 when the PPP policy was launched at this very hotel, at the Caraba Beach Hotel. Our objective this morning, therefore, follows many discussions that we've had in the interim to provide the various policies that will provide some pragmatism as to how we can achieve and implement PPP effectively. But let me also add our high appreciation to all those who've left your businesses today and your official functions to be with us today. We hope and trust that we can count on your very interactive participation this morning. There's no doubt that PPP, especially meaningful partnerships, are the foundation for success and what enables governments and corporate institutions and entrepreneurs to make continuous improvements. By sharing with others, we can direct limited resources and capabilities to projects considered most important. Our objectives, therefore, must be common, both public and private, and should necessarily include one or two of the following. It ensures public services are delivered most economically, efficiently, and effectively. Secondly, that PPPs create opportunities for private sector growth and contribute to the overall economic development through the simulation and stimulation of competitiveness. And thirdly, that it will ensure that the best interests of the public, the business sector, are served through an appropriate allocation of risks and returns between parties. Now that we have a PPP policy, business operators have a good platform to consider the various opportunities for partnership with government. Amongst these, clearly, are the President's and the government's recent Vision 2016, as well as the numerous opportunities in agribusinesses, amongst others. Furthermore, we all agree that the topmost challenge, and therefore one of the best opportunities, is already at hand. Clearly, there must be concrete actions by both sides
on resolving the energy challenge. The benefits are glaring. Productivity will rise, employment will be created, and the Gambia will be much more competitive for FDIs. Indeed, the GCCI has developed and has testimonies of PPP, including with GAIPA, the Gambia Ports Authority, GAMWorks, SDF, NEDI, and recently the reactivated National Economic Council. Plus, of course, engagements with the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, the Office of the President, amongst others. With PPPs, everybody wins. The fact is, increasingly, governments all over the world are pushing for these because it carries with it a number of benefits. As opposed to the public sector, the private sector have incentives to be operationally and economically efficient. On the other hand, private companies seek to earn profits, which are enhanced through entrepreneurial use of resources. Government savings, therefore, made through this efficiency, offer more resources to the government to fund more social services, lower taxes, and increase public utility. The mix of the state's structure, assets, and political power, and the private sector's ability, efficiency, and expertise lead to better public goods and services. Ultimately, the benefits accrue to society. A solid PPP structure further allows for a number of projects to be completed at the same time. They further strengthen private sector ability and confidence and stimulate a healthy economic climate. Eventually, we all reap the benefits in the form of safe infrastructure, more efficient services, and improved health and educational institutions. I am aware of some tremendous success stories from elsewhere and in the region that my colleagues will share later on this morning, and I trust we will all be inspired by those case studies. Finally, we must also resolve together to use the present foundations that have been laid by the PPP policy for a successful outcome, and that the government, together with businesses, should use such dialogue to strive for all parties involved to prosper and benefit, and eventually the society wins. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Aliu Seka, CEO, Gambia Chamber of Commerce, for that eloquent speech. Next on the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, we have a statement from the project coordinator of the Enhanced Integrated Framework, Mr. Baijo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Honorable Minister of Tourism and Culture, representative of the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, PS Communication, Information and Technology, CEO GCCI, private sector representatives, non-governmental organizations, GCCI board members, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great pleasure to deliver a statement in this national public-private partnership policy dialogue. The Enhanced Integrated Framework as a partnership that supports economic growth, sustainable development, and poverty reduction found its roots in this important dialogue from the Diagnostic Trade Integration Studies, which was prepared in 2007 by the Ministry of Trade. The Enhanced Integrated Framework's ultimate objective is to build the foundation for accelerated growth by enhancing the integration of the Gambian economy into the regional and global markets. As far as trade, industry, and services are concerned, it is found that such a dialogue is imperative and becomes a major driver of a planning, policy, and a development program. In this regard, this dialogue we are having today could not have come at a better time. In order to mainstream trade in our national development strategies and plans, one of key indicators of the EIF is the maintenance of the existence of functioning public-private consultation mechanism, such as this one we are having today. In the process of finalizing the diagnostic trade integration studies, the need was found to incorporate a broader and a systemic and regular results-oriented high-level consultations between the government and the private sector representative as the essential ingredients to be part of the core trade policy work as well as the wider productive sector. As you know, the EIF is a government program aiming to mobilize resources for larger aid for trade to finance trade policy regulations, economic infrastructure, building productive capacity, trade-related adjustments, and trade development. At the global level, the aid for trade providers are expected to effectively partner with the private sector and businesses to leverage Sustainable Development Goals agenda. This means a challenge to enhance our public-private partnership model, as well as increasing the role of the private sector in aid for trade. However, considering the inherent financial shortage in the public sector, public-private partnerships' role as a medium to demonstrate its ability to harness financial resources and operating efficiencies inherent to the private sector would go a long way to complement government's efforts. Therefore, the enhanced integrated frameworks intervention by bringing the public and private sector together is by no means a design, it is an absolute default. In the last 5 years, the EIF as a government program has been having consultations and support to the private sector, farmers in the groundnut, sesame, and cashew sector, and the GCCI, as well as other processors. The consultations have been very important because it gives the role of the private sector in trade policy making and implementation. These supports translated into concrete results, which addresses their supply side constraints to integrate them into global and regional markets. The design of the consultative mechanism with the private sector is to ensure forging sustainable partnership. Mr. Chairman, in conclusion, bringing the public sector and the private sector together in the work of the program of the EIF will continue as it forms an integral part of our logical framework that guides the results and impact of the program. With these remarks, I thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Waijo, Program Coordinator, Enhanced Integrated Framework. I just received a note, so please excuse me for being silent for a second. And the note says that there is also a policy fair on the back tables by the Ministries of Energy, GAIPA, and Protect. Is it GEF, Renewable Energy, PPP unit, and the Enhanced Integrated Framework. There are some promotional materials on the back tables for the information of those present and interested. Please be aware. Now, thank you, Mr. Job, for that good speech on EIF objectives and integration, importance of interregional integration and partnerships in that agenda. Next on the agenda is the opening remarks by the Honorable Minister for, it's supposed to be Honorable Minister for Finance, but we are blessed to have the Honorable Minister for Tourism here. So he's going to deliver it on behalf of his colleague. Honorable Minister, please.
Thank you very much. I thought we live in a democratic society. Mr. Ba, you've put me on the spot, and be rest assured that I would get you in one way or the other. Good morning to you all. I enjoy forums like this, and people who know me knows that I enjoy intellectual discourse and exchange, and that was why when I was invited or asked by my Rotarian brother and colleague and friend, the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, I did not hesitate to come and share a couple of hours with you to discuss experiences and in terms of our engagement on a PPP opportunity. So when I'm asked to make a statement that should have been made by my colleague minister, whom he had delegated to Mr. Ba, I was not too pleased, but nonetheless, I will do justice and present this statement by my colleague minister. The resident representative of the United Nations Development Program, the CEO, Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the project coordinator of EIF, permanent secretaries here present, senior civil servants, development partners, representatives of the private sector and civil society, lead discussants, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to deliver the opening statement at this Public-Private Partnership Dialogue Forum and Policy Fair, which is jointly organized by my ministry in close collaboration with the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry and supported by the Enhanced Integrated Framework Project. Before going further, I wish to convey to you special greetings and goodwill from His Excellency, Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya AJJ Jammeh, President of the Republic of the Gambia, under whose leadership and guidance the Gambia continues to register significant development and improvements in the livelihood of the citizenry and residents of the Gambia. The importance of this forum cannot be overemphasized. This forum creates a unique platform wherein government, private sector, development partners, and all stakeholders come together to reflect and discuss public-private partnerships as a tool for sustainable development of the Gambia. These discussions and exchanges will help to further sharpen and focus our interventions. This event, shortly following the adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals, will showcase the established toolkit for public-private partnerships in the Gambia, good practices in PPPs, and discuss the potential of public-private partnerships for the advancement of sustainable development in the Gambia. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, PPPs are critically important in meeting the challenge of sustainable development. The high demand for infrastructure development, coupled with the pressures on national budgets, is making many governments move towards encouraging the private sector to invest in infrastructure projects in the Gambia. In the Gambia, a narrow tax base, growing populations, and aging infrastructure are straining the government's capacity. The government recognized these pervasive challenges and has therefore adopted a national policy to encourage the use of public-private partnership as a means of leveraging public and private sector resources and expertise to close the infrastructure gap and deliver efficient infrastructure and services. Government recognizes the use of PPPs as a strategic mechanism for procuring, financing, and delivering public infrastructure and related public services. However, PPPs are complex and require skills usually found in the private, not the public sector. The benefits of public-private partnership do not originate spontaneously. They must be actively pursued in the preparation and management of the PPP project by the implementing agency. With support from the World Bank, PPIAF, we have screened and identified priority projects, developed PPP operating guidelines, and administrative and management systems for the implementation of PPPs. These tools will provide implementing agencies and the PPP Directorate with a procedural framework and analytical tools enabling them to assess whether the use of PPP can deliver net benefits in a specific project and how these benefits can be effectively achieved. The guidelines are consistent with the national PPP policy of the Gambia. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we recognize that government needs and can do better in making partnerships work. As we evolve, we will continue to learn from our experiences from the implementation of the PPP projects and build upon the gains we have registered whilst renewing our resolve to address the challenges we have encountered. In this regard, we will build upon the gains registered in the area of institutional and capacity building and infrastructure, to mention a few. Our gains serve as further motivation for us to accelerate our efforts to scale up private participation in infrastructure in order to meet the development aspirations of our people. The government will continue to invest in capacity building as well as further enhance the PPP policy, legal and institutional framework, and operational guidelines. In line with the spirit and the clarion call of the SDGs of leaving no one behind, we will further enhance the inclusiveness of our growth to make development more broad-based. Our wide consultations at all levels as part of policy formulation process is a testimony of our commitment to further enhance private sector participation in both the formulation and implementation of the development agenda. To achieve these objectives, government will continue to adopt prudent fiscal and monetary policies to further enhance and deepen the enabling environment for private sector participation in infrastructure development. We call on all partners to support government initiatives for institutional strengthening and capacity building of relevant bodies for the scaling up of PPPs as a major strategy to finance public infrastructure. Before concluding, I wish to acknowledge the continued collaboration and support of GCCI for organizing this forum. I also wish to thank EIF for the funding support as well as other development partners and key stakeholders. Please let me seize this opportunity to renew government's commitment for a collaborative partnership in our quest to eradicate extreme poverty and meet the SDGs by 2030. On a final note, I have the pleasure to formally declare this forum open and to wish you fruitful deliberations. May Allah the Almighty guide and bless this gathering. with wisdom to reflect and discuss issues beneficial to the Gambia and all humankind. Allah bless you all. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. In his true colors, he did not disappoint. We're very glad. We're very glad. He ably represented his colleague minister. And he's just receiving the speech right now, by the way. That was an excellent delivery. Thank you. We appreciate it. And my apologies to... Now that the forum has been declared open, the next topic on the agenda is to have the coffee break. And we thank you all for being here and for listening to the words of wisdom from the high table that they had to share. We hope and pray that it will be a very fruitful meeting and deliberations so that we can achieve the development objectives that we set ourselves. Thank you all. Assalamu alaikum.